1,085 days, I believe. Let me look. So we are very late again. Can't be helped. So much news to go through and post, right? And post. So um, trying to, 1,885 days. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? I mean, you have to be very, well, let's just say we come from a place of victory. So we know that victory is ours, that it all will happen, but it's all in God's timing. And things are happening uh, in ways that we never even expected. And so, really, it seems like a lot of days, but really, in the scope of things, not too many, right? God's timing is, a day is like a, a thousand years, right? So, today is 1,885 days since Richard was forcibly removed from his barracks room. That's a U.S. military installation there in Texas, in El Paso, Texas. He was forcibly removed and he was taken to a soundproof room, and his life was taken from him. His life was taken from him brutally. Um, and there's evidence that he fought back, broke some teeth, not his own, others. That he fought back, broke some teeth um, of his assailant, of those that are up to no good, really evil. Um, and his life was taken from him. His body was stolen off of Fort Bliss. He was dismembered, and his remains were trafficked. So that is the horror of our son's story, and of course, the subsequent cover up of it, and also the targeting of our family for wanting to know what happened, wanting to really just to do what the CID and his chain of command told us, which was to investigate our own son's murder and bring them leads. Otherwise, they couldn't help us. We had to go and investigate ourselves, and so we did. And then the retaliation, the targeting of our family, just like they targeted Richard before they forcibly removed him and took his life. The retaliation was ongoing for months beforehand. And I really do want to get together some music, some videos together to play before every one of these live streams. I have to get to that. I really do. But the news is happening so quick, and so much of it in a very, very good way in our favor. To get our son's remains, because we still do not have our son's remains. And to get accountability, of course. We cannot let this stand, because the bigger scope of this, why did they do it? Why did they do that to a whistleblower? Why did they do that to a whistleblower that was reporting the worst type of crimes against children, criminal trafficking? Don't forget that Fort Bliss is the home of where hundreds of thousands of children, they call them unaccompanied migrants, minors, right? But no, these are children, hundreds of thousands unaccompanied. Give me a break. I don't believe that for a second. My suspicion is that, it's like that movie. What was that movie called? Taken? Yeah. Hundreds of thousands of children that were trafficked through Fort Bliss. And, it's been talked about in the media because it's so big. Not that the media wants to cover that, because if the media really wanted to cover it, they would do a much better job, wouldn't they? But they're forced to cover it. They are driven to cover it because it's so big. It's so big they can't ignore it. It's bigger than any elephant in a room. Hundreds of thousands of children. And even Congress is driven to talk about it. And we have the HHS secretary, R.F. Kennedy, right? Kennedy, talking about how these children, 40 at a time, were dropped off at like a strip joint with empty lot. Well, that sounds just like Dreams Cabaret, and we know that Dreams Cabaret is very dirty, is very, very dirty because Leilani Hart was getting her mail there. And Leilani Hart is very, very dirty. She's a prime suspect in this case. She's a convicted criminal. She was driven to confess to the worst type of facilitating the worst type of crimes against children, for not reporting the worst type of crimes against children, for decades, right? This is going on, for her family engaging, the men in her family engaging in unlawful, very intimate acts with each other. Uh, it's kind of like a grooming like what we hear with William Molinar, right? Because William Molinar is part of this group, part of the group with Danae Katzen, and he is a convicted, worst type of crimes against children. He's convicted, right? And what did he get? Probation. And he's a repeat offender. A repeat offender gets probation because he's connected to this group. You see, this group, we call it the cartel tied Mormon faction, because it's connected to the big power broker there, Woody Hunt. Woody Hunt. And that's why, you see such a degree of cover up, especially within the military, because he controls 80% of the military housing contracts. um, you know, and this is why you see the absolute treason being committed by mutineers, generals, flag officers within the military. So that leads to a big story, a big story with Pete Hegseth, and I did post on it. Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of the Department of War, um, that called up a huge meeting with the generals and the flag officers and admirals within our military, and getting them all together. And everybody is speculating, what's going to happen. And President Trump released today that he will be there at Quantico. Quantico, oh wow, CID agent, dirty agent Howell, right? Dirty agent Howell, friends with the Hart family in El Paso, who was assigned to our case, right? He that's his little this AO, his AO is Quantico. They're all going to be meeting in Quantico. Of course, Howell is not, and he's so dirty, y'all. He's so dirty. He needs to be arrested. He really does. Because, they tried to put Richard in cold case, right? They tried to put Richard in cold case. So we wouldn't let that happen. We wouldn't let that happen. We wouldn't let them do that to our son. No, we want answers. We absolutely want answers, because we recognize this as a huge family obligation, right? To get to the bottom of this. A parental duty to our son, absolutely. But also as patriots, right, as Americans, because of the circumstances. In this case, the risk to President Trump's life. The assassination attempts on President Trump is absolutely connected with our son's case. And of course, the Charlie Kirk assassination is absolutely connected to our son's case. There's no, that's not a theory. That is absolutely fact. That's absolutely fact. Um, so that is, it's really good news that President Trump is going to meet with these generals, these flag officers, and many of them. There's some that are good, but many of them are mutineers. So, it's and I've read, because I love history and everything, and I've read many historical stories of amazing leadership that can handle mutineers, right? That can handle mutineers. So, and I really, I think that President Trump has proven himself over and over and over again that he can handle mutineers. So, and some of these are downright down. I mean, it's just they they need to be held accountable for what they've done. They're being traitors in the past, but we'll see. We'll see. There's a lot of things that need to be addressed. And of course, President Trump has the inside scoop that we don't have, right? He has that major intelligence that we don't have. So, we are absolutely supporting President Trump 100% because he has supported us 100%. He really has since day one that he got into office in January of 2025. And it's just a litany of his executive orders and everything that's been happening in Mexico. You see that with Scheinbaum. Mexican President Scheinbaum just was in Juarez, really took power away from Governor Maru, rightfully so. Governor Maru is the PAN party. Her Mexican party is called the PAN party, capital P, capital A, capital N. And that is a cartel party, okay? It is a Chapitos faction of the El Chapo Sinaloa cartel. And they're really up to no good, right? And connected to the Plenitude crematorium, the trafficking and recycling of corpses through the scandal using the mortuary operations and funeral homes that reach into El Paso and into Fort Bliss mortuary operations in order to cash in on these remains fraudulently, like unidentified migrants and getting humanitarian aid and through USAID and through NGOs and all of that, and also through the military VA system for death benefits and stuff like that. So, this is a huge, huge scandal that needs to be addressed, but there's, and that is being addressed. That was absolutely exposed, which is a major, major development. And of course, it brought on with all of these extradition of big big players like El Mayo and El Chapo's son, and so many other financiers in the cartel hierarchy. 28 and then 11 more or whatever. I mean, there's been a lot of extraditions, which means a lot of talking, a lot of talking. And so a lot has gone on, and I think the exposing of Plenitude Crematorium, whose owner, by the way, has big businesses in El Paso and many different properties, and a house right next to Beto O'Rourke. Beto O'Rourke, right? Who this Mormon faction wanted to be president of the United States, and of course leads into the main subjects of today, and that is the Charlie Kirk assassination. I think this is very, very important for everyone to understand, because the internet right now, and we've been getting so many, theories about what happened to Charlie Kirk, how he was assassinated, and uh, because the narrative doesn't add up, and there is a breakdown, and I put my note. Let me bring my notes up. I thought my notes said it really well. Let me bring that up. I was going to do it all by heart. Um, but I think that it's very important for everyone to understand, because the Charlie Kirk assassination has been so impactful that it has brought people a huge, uh, I think it's like over 15% increase in church attendance, Christian church attendance, because of the impact of Charlie Kirk and and the assassination of him, and what that has spoken to people, what that has spoken, and the cover up, all the alleges of cover up, right? The Because the narrative, the lone wolf shooting narrative, is clearly being being debunked every minute, so many different ways. And we have said at the very, very beginning that um, our son's case is connected to the Charlie Kirk assassination case. And so now people are putting the pieces together, because it is confirmed that the prime suspects in our son's case have a common denominator, and that is with the cartel-tied Mormon faction. Okay, and this Mormon faction has huge ties in Mexico. I mean, Mitt Romney, Mitt Romney, he wanted to be president too. His family is very tied to the Conal Whetten family, because they're descendants of the Mormon faction that uh, didn't want to live in the United States anymore because it didn't like its laws. They're polygamists, and they didn't like it, that's illegal in the United States, and so they thwarted that, and went into Mexico and settled in a place called Colonial Juarez, or Colonial Dublin, or even Nova Casa Grandes. Um, and that in Colonial Juarez is where their big temple is. They have a school there, a boarding school there, that is for the elite of this Mormon faction to send their children there. And anyway, and they are confirmed through the cases of the LeBaron family, and many, many other cases to be connected and tied to the cartel. So this is the connection that goes into New Mexico, Chihuahua, Mexico, New Mexico, and Texas. There's the highway the that goes up to, of course, the leadership of um, into Utah. And in El Paso, Texas, the big power player, the big Mormon power player there, that's part of this faction. There's no doubt about it, because he's El Paso Community Foundation, which is connected to El Paso Matters, and Sylvia Brun de Firth, and Bob Moore, and really up to no good in big way, and the military, and Fort Bliss in a very big way, and Fort Hood in a very big way. So this is confirmed, and his peers are then, of course, um, connected to the Charlie Kirk assassination, because of the alleged shooter roommate is Lance Twiggs, right? Lance Twiggs, whose family is the peers of Woody Hunt, big power players. And so what this is, bringing all of these theories, right? All of these theories and connections, and because people don't trust the narrative right now, the going narrative is very faulty, rightfully so. None of it makes sense, and they're seeing the cover up. They're seeing that where the tent was has already been 2 days later paved over, that cameras were taken away, that the crime scene wasn't secured. The crime scene wasn't secured at all. That Charlie Kirk's team was taking down cameras and everything. That camera footage shows that there was a big leap of individuals around Charlie Kirk that were not really concerned about Charlie Kirk, but grabbing things, handing things off, and everything like that. And that this area was paved over, and um, that there was no autopsy done. And you have to understand that part of the suspects in Richard's case are the um, mortuary operations, funeral homes. You have Amber Chase being part of that community. You have, and oh gosh, and of course, CID Tavita Noosa's brother, Solomona Noosa, being mortuary operations. Just the whole thought of all of these connections that have been confirmed over these 5 years of intense investigation, with now mountainous, robust evidence that we have that is just undeniable. And to I even understand why they didn't want the autopsy done there. I wouldn't want the autopsy done there, because look, in El Paso, under this big power broker, Woody Hunt, they have an illegal and unqualified chief medical examiner, Mario Reskin Ortiz, who is connected to the cartel, okay, connected to this faction, and uh, was brought in by representative when she was a judge, um, uh, Veronica Escobar, right? Who is absolutely uh, financed, big part, by Woody Hunt. So this medical examiner that gets almost $500,000 a year in taxpayer salary, that has to be approved by someone like the county judge, which, by the way, she's not a lawyer. You don't have to be a lawyer to be the county judge. But anyway, that's, a lot of people are like, what? She's not a lawyer. No, she's not a lawyer. Um, and so, you know, his salary, this huge salary for this illegal, for this unqualified, very dirty, cartel tied chief medical examiner, um, has to be approved. And so this is how these connections, investigation, you find out who approved such a thing, who approved his H-1B visa, his Y4, and the other thing that we have, the waiver, right? The waiver is illegal. Um, so it's all hard evidence, lots of time spent to get FOIAs, and yeah, to work the system. You have to drive the system to work because, there's a lot of corruption there. So yeah, if I was, Woody Hunt, is his peer, is uh, a big player there in Utah. Lance Twiggs is totally connected to all of this. I don't know if I would want to trust any kind of autopsy done on Charlie Kirk. I don't know, but by law, it's supposed to be done. It's supposed to be done. So, that is, the big deal that a lot of people are saying. They want an autopsy, but a lot of people don't realize that the medical examiners are very big players, that they are judges, right? They have a judicial office, and they're very important to every case because they determine the cause and manner of death. And so if you have a dirty one in there, you can cover up crime left and right, or you can really move cases to how you want them to be. It's a very unknown position that's very, very important. And so people just assume that we have really good oversight for these medical examiners, which we don't. We don't at all, because Mario Raskin Ortiz has been there for oh gosh, what is it? Way over a decade. Okay. So, he's done a lot of damage to so many cases, including the Walmart mass shooting case, which we have proof of that he did a lot of damage in that. So, and he was, with Purchase Funeral Homes, the funeral homes that's attached to that crematorium that were recycling bodies. Yeah. So, uh, so the Charlie Kirk, not just that, but, we're hearing theories that his microphone was the explosive device, that he was shot from the back, from the right. We've been hearing stories that he was shot from the left. Um, lots and lots of different, very good theories. When you listen to them, people have some say that there's this trap door and was come up. Some people, it's just there's just so much going on. And why are they doing that? Because they don't trust our institutions. They don't trust um, what's going on, and they absolutely know. We have thousands of followers, so they absolutely know about what's going on in Texas, what's going on in El Paso, what happened with the Walmart mass shooting. They don't trust it, and they can see that this Mormon faction, if you get a Mormon faction, there's a really good percentage chance that you're going to get a Mormon faction from a school, the Utah Valley University, is like 80% Mormon, maybe more than 80% Mormon. And so the chances of some internal, Mormon faction could be up to no good. And then the other thing that we've heard is that half of Charlie Kirk's staff there was Mormon. And so if you have just a few, one or two or whatever, that become, dirty, that become a Mormon faction, or that are part of this, that maybe they are the insiders, kind of like what happened to January 6th, where you had the FBI sending in on hundreds of plainclothes agents up to no good, and informants, 2 dozen informants up to no good, to instigate, to direct things, to incite violence, or even just to cover up, to hover around and to cover up and to, so these are the concerns of so many people, and that we've been hearing over the few days. And I haven't been really reporting too much on Charlie Kirk because of, like, the jury's out, right? And we want to give the um, federal FBI a chance to investigate, and give them time, which is very difficult when you have this kind of infiltration, and of course the state having such control, and then also the university having such control. So, I think really it was really a prime situation, just like Fort Bliss. Utah Valley University is like Fort Bliss, right? It's a very controlled environment. It's a perfect environment to do some major crime when you have infiltrators like CID Tavita Nusa, like uh, like the director of emergency services, Thomas Kane. He's also part of this Mormon faction, being, in control of the security of Fort Bliss. When you have many others, including generals, including flag officers or chain of command, you have it's a very controlled environment to carry out the worst type of crimes. And so this is uh, really, um, uh, you know, uh, with this kind of Mormon faction loyalty, been told loyalty becomes a tool of obstruction, uh, and even maybe very violent, So this whole theory of an inside job becomes very, very real, and we need to get to the bottom of this. This is why this is so important, to not let the Charlie Kirk's assassination go unanswered, because this is really um, trust in our ability to oversight and to restrain any kind of even big power brokers, like a billionaire, like a Woody Hunt, like the family of Lance Twiggs. They need to be investigated. Why aren't they being investigated? They are very big players in that area. Okay, they are, like, they need to be investigated. Why isn't that being done? And how can you trust any kind of investigation in that area when you have players like that, right? In uh, having such control, not total control, but such control enough to really do a lot of damage and to thwarting justice. And so these are, uh, you know, really what you see in the Walmart mass shooting. It's the same playbook, what you see in the Walmart mass shooting, what you've seen in our son's case, which is totally intertwined with the Walmart mass shooting. And now that you see with the attempts on President Trump's life, you've seen that. And also now with the Charlie Kirk, So something is really fishy. Something is really stinky. And something smells like a Mormon faction, cartel tied, um, group that is up to no good. That's what it looks like, and that's what it smells like, and that's what the evidence points to. And so that was just not a good place to be in such a controlled environment. And it's very concerning when Fort Bliss becomes a controlled environment like that, um, which it was. So there is a crisis in legitimacy in Utah with the Mormons, because the Mormons absolutely should have oversight of these Mormon factions, right? And they have the power. They have the power, and they're very, very wealthy. I mean, I think the Mormons are like 10 times more wealthier than even like Apple Corporation. I mean, they're very wealthy, so they can absolutely do some oversight. They have a lot to, they don't want to lose their legitimacy, right? And this Mormon faction is doing a lot of damage to their legitimacy, and so this is the hard work that also Cash Patel has to do, Director Cash Patel, and uh, our government, they have to do a lot of work too to uh, restore the legitimacy that was lost because of all of this weaponization. And that's why you see former director Comey being indicted, and I think another person on the list will be Christopher Wray. He did a lot of damage, and so there has to be legitimacy brought back into these agencies that so much damage has been done. And clearly it's not totally restored yet, right? They're still working on it because the damage was so bad, um, so thank you, Laura, for coming on. That is why the city feels very comfortable killing, because they can get paid, and the protection from the local government, and they do get paid. And we have evidence of that too. But I think what's happening right now with President Trump is RICO cases are going to come up, and the RICO cases will let FinCEN do their business. That's FinCEN is the investigatory. They're the investigators of the finances, right? So they'll be looking into all who is funding everything, and they can also freeze funds and all of that. So you have to turn off the spigot and make it unprofitable, or turn off the money to carry out these heinous crimes, these crimes. Just against humanity, crimes against humanity. I've been saying that from the very beginning. These are crimes against humanity. And so I think President Trump is just addressing step by step. It's all in God's timing, you see, but you have to work very, very hard. Because we can't think that we're going to get this justice and get our country back on flowery beds of ease, right? On flowery beds of ease. This is a great hymn that I sang today, while others fought for the prize, um, uh, and gave the ultimate price, paid the ultimate price. So, the prize is our freedom. The prize is our country, and it's worth fighting for. You have to work very, very hard, but God directs it all. You see, my Oma used to say, "Mensch denkt, aber Gott lenkt." So, what does that mean? Translated, it means that men think, right? They think that they can direct things, and they can be conspiratorial and all of that. But at the end of the day, truth pops out, and truth, of course, is God. God is really in the driver's seat. God is in the driver's seat, and we know. In my faith, we know that we operate from victory, that God has already won, and that we just have to keep working very, very hard to bring about all the blessings of that victory, right? To bring all the blessings of the victory, and that means accountability. And so, thank you so much. They pay gods of Olympus, yes. Yeah, absolutely. There is over and over and over again. There is from the very beginning. These are, you're fighting the devil, right? You're fighting the devil and all of their different kind of um, beliefs or whatever. Um, and tomorrow, well, maybe it's today. Yeah, today is Saint Michael the Archangel and All Angels Day, and All Angels Day. And we have to also realize, and I can um, absolutely claim this, that we're not alone. That we are not alone, that we are fellow servants with all of these heavenly hosts that are just magnificent, right? And not little fat little baby cherubs. No, these are, and cherubs are not, cherubs are very powerful, right? They have the swords of fire, as we're told. But no, these heavenly hosts are very powerful, and so this is a great day to remember that we're not alone in this battle against evil. We have fellow servants in that are very, very powerful, that are the unseen, right? The unseen. Um, so we have the seen and the unseen, the heavenly hosts that are just, sometimes we see them. I think we do. Um, and I know that God's hand has been on this whole thing from the very beginning. Um, and I just want to stay very, very positive, because the crimes in this are the worst of the worst. They're the worst of the worst. And so it can make you absolutely go into depression, make you schizophrenia, make you sick to your stomach, make you maybe get a disease or something like that, right? These crimes are so atrocious. They're the worst of the worst. And so we have to stay very vigilant to understand that this is a battle against good and evil, and that means there's good. There's good there, and that good means that we are victorious, and we have to point out all of these evil crimes, but we have to also make sure that we concentrate on what's good and noble and true and praiseworthy and honorable. And so for me, that's easy. That's my son, and even President Trump gave him the highest praises over and over again, over and over again. And so you know it's and death doesn't have victory. So these are the things we have to focus on. And today being Michael and all the angels day is something that we have to focus on while we're working vigilantly, and as President Trump says, viciously working against these very dark and evil powers. And he went to the Ryder Cup, right? See, he's a great leader, because he shows that you have to focus on the beautiful things, the wonderful things, the the beauty of competition, going with his beautiful granddaughter and spending time with grandpa and granddaughter together. Um, these are the things that meeting with these mutinous generals. Not all of them are mutinous, but a lot of them are. Um, uh, Meeting with them and maintaining his commander in chief power. It's just a beautiful thing, and so don't give in to being intimidated. Don't give in to that at all, and to all of these stories surrounding Charlie Kirk. Let all of the theories work them their way. People are just amazing, and they're figuring this all out because our agencies have let us down. And so we have many people, even some with bad intentions, um, that are figuring this stuff out, and giving us justice. So it is all happening. And then with uh, Judge Guaderrama, Judge Guaderrama, uh, let's just say he's another one that needs to be arrested, right? I think he needs to be arrested. What he has done to El Paso, to the federal court, and putting President Trump in such danger, really danger. Um, and of course, thwarting justice for so many cases, including our sons, including the Walmart mass shooting. All of that coming out with Michael Maiella, with the Michael Maiella being his manager, his federal courthouse manager, and and the trying to keep that secret until we revealed it, we broke that news. Um, with his son, with his daughter being married to Patrick Crusius's brother, right? Totally part of the Walmart mass shooting case, and his son, and working for Jaime Esparza at the DA office, working in the FBI office, working for Walmart cybersecurity, and his wife, Lorraine Maiella, working with mental health. Absolutely very important witness to the severe mental health conditions that Patrick Crusius has. But covering that all up, absolutely taking them out of the case, which is obstructing justice, right? So Judge Guadarrama, um, it just it's very important to not forget the damage, the absolute criminality of what they've done. And we have to hold them accountable. So that comes with keeping that going all the time, just like our son's case. Don't let that get into cold case. Um, Staying very positive and optimistic while doing that, that's just the real challenge, right? That's the real challenge. Um, and but it's all doable. It's all doable. And then also having faith, never losing faith. The way Jesus cusses us out as he goes, ye of little faith, right? Don't you know, ye of little faith, right? So he is absolutely, he's got his own timing and his hand on all of this. Um, and we just have to have faith for that and keep going, and never give up. And never give up, because El Paso is worth saving. El Paso is absolutely beautiful, beautiful city, and the culture is just. I just love border city cultures, if they're lawful, right? Not the cartel culture, not the cartel culture that they're bringing in with all of this grooming and all of these sex cults and everything like this. No, uh, I lived there, and I remember the beautiful culture of that area, and it's worth fighting for. Never give up. Never think that, okay, billions of dollars of this power broker, he's just going to control us, right? No, no way. Don't ever give up, right? Because they're nothing, not even billions of dollars. They're nothing compared to God and His kingdom and His Michaels and hosts of angels. They're nothing compared to Him. He's a heavyweight champion of everything, of everything. He gives weight to everything and He gives life to everything. So they're nothing compared to Him. They are just created beings that are troublemakers, created little demons that are troublemakers. And of course, the way they got their billions is very questionable, right? Very questionable. So, yeah, never give up. And, they've compromised the likes of so many in that area. And so we have to absolutely call it out. And, that needs to be replaced. And what are you going to replace it with? That's where it comes in, that we need to make sure that we praise what's good and noble and trustworthy and promote it. Promote appointments of ethical, moral judges and individuals that can rise to the occasion of making El Paso great again, making America great again, making Utah great again, right? So this is really making Juarez great again, Chihuahua. Um, and so Shinebaum coming in and snatching a power from Maru was just beautiful thing. And you might not even like Shinebaum, right? You might even not like Maru, and you might not like the cartels that are like in a civil war right now. You might, but a, an indication that that they are being held accountable, and the gnashing of the teeth, and they are being driven to act in a more oversight way, right? They're driven to act and have oversight. So this is really, really important for everything that's developing. So thank you so much. I think I covered everything. I think I just covered about everything that I wanted to talk about. Yeah, Conal Whetten, and yeah. So thank you so much, everybody, for coming on so late at night, all the time. And please share, 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 and have a great Saint Michael and All Angels Day. And sleep tight. And I'll be back tomorrow, God willing. Bye bye.